Letters of Love and Deception by Emily C.A. Snyder. Part 1, Heroes and Histories. Chapter 1, Miss Bates, Something Blue, based on the story of Emma. Miss Bates had not been in this part of the attic since she and her mother, Mrs. Bates, had been required to retrench to their current modest abode. But now, on the eve of her dearest niece's, Jane Fairfax's, wedding, Miss Bates had found courage enough to face the lovingly carved box and its several contents. The stubby candlelight shone over Miss Bates' plain, cheerful face, touching on the curl rags in her just graying hair, and sinking into the folds of her patched and patterned shawl. She held her hands limply together on her folded knees. Almost she could have been praying. Like a child, she let loose a little silly laugh to cover the quivering of her chin. "Oh, well," she said brightly to the ghosts of her past. "I can't," looking around, can't stay up here all night." Again a nervous giggle and the musical, "Oh, well, No lock bound the chest, much like some wittier folk like Miss Woodhouse might say that no lock bound Miss Bates' tongue. And, well, yes, she's probably right," Miss Bates murmured, setting the prop in place to hold open the lid. The light grew in the cramped attic as it reflected off the contents of the trunk. In small seed pearls and silver-shot lace, an exquisite wedding gown lay, still wrapped in the tailor's ribbon. Hot tears welled up in her eyes, which she awkwardly shoved away with the palm of her hand, smiling, "Oh, dear," and "Oh, my," with every fresh sob. A small corsage of flowers, carefully tucked within the ribbons and pressed over time, caught her eye, eliciting a momentary smile. "Something blue," she hummed, reaching out for the posy. So doing, her clumsy fingers happened upon an envelope lost in the trunk. Lost, but never truly forgotten. She gasped an "oh," and pulled the letter out. "Oh," she repeated, fonder this time. She did not say the name of the author. She had no need to. Her whole being still quivered with his memory. Charles Stanton scrawled across the page as surely as it did across her soul. A poor shipmate aboard the ill-fated Morning Star. His letter still smelled of salt water and hot tar. The dress that had been ordered 20 years ago to adorn his lively bride. The letter that had been written as long before to adore the bride-to-be he was returning to. The letter had arrived, carried by a vessel immediately home, while the Morning Star first docked briefly in Algiers to let the captain and his new bride enjoy a well-deserved honeymoon. A Captain Muldoon had replaced him for the remainder of the voyage. "As close a man as you ever did see, love. Said not a word even to First Mate Anderson, though they was cabin boys together they was, aboard the Triumphant during the French troubles in the Americas. All he's let out, and this through Anderson, is that we'd best write home. And so I'm writing you, Fanny, not knowing when I'll see you again, nor when we may wed. I suppose I should say soft, genteel-like words now, eh? But what I say that's not said far better in a book. I'm no good with words, although I use my fair share. But I'll try, seeing as Anderson let slip to me that the captain never says a word he don't mean. I can't form nice strings of sweets together. My mind is too a-boggle for that. So I'll put down what I'm thinking, and I hope you'll forgive me if I don't say nothing fine. Oh, Fanny, I'm sitting here and just thinking of you laugh. Nothing else, just the way you giggle and and when you aren't talking, that is. And I'm wishing you was right by me now, laughing and making light of all my worries with your "oh wells" I tease you about so often. And I'm thinking of how red your nose gets when you're seeing me out of port. Or better, when you're greeting me in. And how red and chapped your knuckles are in the wind too. But then inside, you laugh at me when I pace and gaze out the window to make sure the sea's still there. I can't think why you want to marry me, Fanny. Live your life cold and trapped in some seaport or another, awaiting a callous tar like me. But I thank God you do, Fanny. I thank God you do. Well, Anderson can't give me no more time to write, so I'll end clumsily here and think of how you'll laugh at me. Wait for me, Fanny. Your devoted Charles. The letter that arrived 3 months later ran quite differently. Miss Bates need not find it within the trunk. This also she knew too well. October 1796, my dear Miss Bates. It is with deepest sorrow that I take the liberty of writing to you. I served with your betrothed, Charles Stanton, above the Morning Star, and often heard him speak warmly of you. I knew he would want me to write to you. On 20 August 1796, en route to England at long last, we were hit with a vast storm off the coast of Ivory. Many men were lost to sea that day, Charles among them. He acquitted himself nobly, saving many lives before losing his own. I myself owe him a far larger debt than I could ever repay. Again, my deepest condolences on your loss. If there is ever any way in which I can aid you, please do not hesitate to call upon your servant, J. Henderson. Deep blue tears had found their way down Miss Bates' good face, causing her nose to drip a little. Again her hand was employed until she found a handkerchief she had tucked up the sleeve of her nightdress. She laughed. Something blue? She had not the imagination to picture her Charles valiantly saving lives, nor had she the crudity to depend upon Henderson's goodwill for support. Neither fancy nor reality could comfort Miss Bates as she knelt alone in her attic. Only her "oh wells" saw her through the night. The next morning Frank Churchill himself brought down the box. Jane Fairfax opened it, as all the rest admired. "But where did you get this, aunt?" Jane inquired.
"Oh, well, I dare say it's a long story, and you won't want to hear it. An old story. But if it fits you, Jane, you might wear it today, for I do not think it is quite out of fashion entirely, although I do not account myself a good judge of young ladies' tastes these days. But I did think—"
Jane stopped her aunt with a kiss. "It is lovely." "Just the thing," Frank exclaimed, lifting the dress from the box. "Something old and something new." "And something borrowed," Jane added, squeezing Miss Bates' hand. "Leaving only— oh, what is it, Jane?"
Miss Fanny Bates replied, blinking back happy tears. Something blue."